Hey, Mrs. DC here. I'm going to talk you through how to complete the point of view chart and how to start writing the analytical paragraph on point of view. So, for your chart, remember you were required to fill out the first two columns for every story, and then you needed to fill in the other two columns, so complete the row for one story of your choice. If you were working in a group, each person needed to be working with a different story. So I'm going to show you how to fill out one row, and if you are completing this assignment late or in some other way doing this assignment on your own without a group, you are just going to not do the same row that I've done. So I'm going to work with the most difficult story because I think that this is a story that the least of you would want to write about. So you're going to start off by figuring out the type of point of view that you see in each story. And you should be able to do this by just reading the first two lines of any of each of the stories. If you can't do it without looking at just the first two lines, then you are probably not paying close enough attention to your notes. So looking at the notes, you can see mine here. You can see that with a first person point of view, they're going to be referring to themselves as I or me. And with a third person point of view, you will have he and she or him and her. You'll have those pronouns. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at the first two sentences of the story and figure out what kind of pronouns we're dealing with. So when I look at the first two sentences of the possibility of evil, they say Miss Adela Strangeworth came daintily along her way to the grocery store. The sun was shining, the air was fresh after the night's heavy rain, and everything in Miss Strangeworth's little town looked washed and bright. So we get the pronoun her. So that should tell us, if we look at our notes, that we are dealing with a third person point of view of some sort. So once you've identified that you're dealing with a third person point of view, you need to ask yourself, which characters do we get to see the inner thoughts and feelings of? Do we get to see them all, or is it limited to just one? So in this story, you ask yourself that question, is there any time when we get to see anybody's inner thoughts and feelings other than Mrs. Strangeworth's? If you're answering yes to that question, I would challenge you to show me where that happens, because when I read the story, I didn't notice where there was any place that we got the inner thoughts and feelings of anyone else in the town. So that means that this story, the point of view, is limited to Mrs. Strangeworth. So we have a third person limited point of view. Once you've identified the point of view, filling in the next column, the effect and limitation column, should be super easy, because what that's going to do is it's going to take you back to your notes, and you're going to look at the type of point of view that we have. We have third person limited, and you're going to find the effects and limitations box for that type of point of view. And you'll notice that for third person limited point of view, there are three effects or limitations that I could talk about. The one that I'm going to choose, I think, is that readers can't get get the big picture of what's going on. And we can't. So that's why we don't understand why the townspeople are so upset until we see what Mrs. Strangeworth does later in the story, and we're able to make that inference. So I'm going to write right here, I'm just copying from my notes, readers can't get picture. Then when you go to your textual evidence and your explanation, that's where I'm going to quote the story in a moment where I don't get the big picture, and also tell then what I'm missing. So when I go back to the story, one of the things that stands out to me is the idea that people are unhappy, they are um, seeming disturbed lately. And she actually says many people seem disturbed recently. She actually thinks that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that quote, and I'm going to put it in here. And then my explanation of the quote is because we can't or don't have access to the thoughts and feelings of the other characters, we don't understand what is causing people in the town to be upset. So once your chart is finished, you can move on to the analytical paragraph. And so what you're doing for the analytical paragraph is you're choosing one of the three stories to focus on. And you're going to use the ideas that you charted to write the analytical paragraph. So when you look at your chart, you can see, you already have parts of your answer, you have your textual evidence already, and you have at least part of your explanation. So you have a good start to your paragraph already. So I'm going to show you how you might form your topic sentence and your explanation of your topic sentence before you introduce that evidence, give that explanation, and then a concluding wrap-up sentence. All right. So your topic sentence is going to be just like the RNA of race, just like we've practiced in the past. So this is going to be my topic sentence. All right. So I have my topic sentence space started, and you have to explain how the author's choice of point of view affects the reader's understanding of the story. So you're going to need to start off by saying the author's choice of, and then you should tell what type of point of view they're using, affects readers' understanding of the story by. And then you're going to write write the effect or limitation that you identified in the chart there. So you're just plugging in the information that you already have in your chart. So this will be your type of point of view, and this will be one effect or limitation of that point of view. Okay, so that's your topic sentence. And then you can move on to your explanation of the topic sentence. And in your explanation of the topic sentence, you are going to be telling specifically how this story is affected by the type of point of view. So you're going to tell how the effect or limitation is present in the story. So that's where I, say that people cannot or don't, because it is third person limited, we, the reader, don't have a good understanding of why townspeople are so upset until we see what Mrs. Strangeworth does later on in the story. So then for your evidence, you're going to add your quote from the chart. Make sure that you introduce it with a lead-in. And then you will have your explanation of evidence. Which you're adding from the chart. And then you will have your concluding wrap-up sentence. And for that, you could say that the authors, or you can say that the author's choice of point of view affects the reader's understanding of the story, and tell how that affect, tell the specific effect or limitation. And because you stated it in that order in the topic sentence, you probably want to flip it around. So you could say readers understanding of, and then you could tell specifically what it is that they don't quite understand properly, is affected by the author's choice of, and then whatever that type of point of view was that you identified in the topic sentence. So this is the specific effect on story. So, for example, readers' understanding of why the townspeople are upset is affected by the author's choice of third-person limited point of view. So this is where we have our type of point of view. Okay, and so that's how you could go about writing that paragraph if you are not sure how to get started. Okay, so that's it. Best of luck. See me if you need help.